When people think about God of War, they usually think about an extremely chaotic action game where you basically control a very angry dude who wants to destroy the Greek gods. Kratos has been seen by many as a one-note character whose only goal is to destroy practically everything, all for the sake of vengeance, all while shouting Zeus with his every breath. Now in 2018, Sony Santa Monica has made this one-dimensional character into the icon Sony deserves thanks to this new God of War, which excels in both its combat and storytelling, redefining the Ghost of Sparta. The game's story takes place after the events of God of War 3, after Kratos essentially causes an apocalypse in Greece after killing most of the Greek gods. Some time has passed after that event, and Kratos is now in Midgard, and he has a son named Atreus, also known as Boy. Not to spoil too much, but Kratos isn't looking to commit deicide on a grand scale this time around. He went to Midgard in order to live a new life there, away from the past that haunts him. This personal journey that he and his son take is pretty much a bonding experience, and while it sounds like the complete opposite of what Kratos in the previous games would do, the change works. Kratos still has some of those Kratos qualities, such as punching a chest open, because opening a lid would be boring and inefficient. He is still somewhat grumpy and angry at times by barely speaking to Atreus and calling him Boy 95% of the time. But Atreus balances the duo out. Atreus does most of the talking, excited about the adventure he is having, while Kratos is calm and keeps his focus on the task at hand, with the occasional short responses.
What are we hunting?
You are hunting deer.
Which way?
In the direction of deer.
Okay, this way.
Even though he doesn't express it through words most of the time, Kratos truly cares for his boy. The father figure in him shines, with some moments where he gives Atreus powerful life lessons, and in some moments when he goes all out in order to protect his new family. Kratos has never been more interesting as a character. He has suffered so much in the previous games since losing his wife and daughter in the first God of War, and being filled with rage because of it. Now that his vengeance against Olympus is complete, he understands how much ruin, vengeance, and anger can bring and is all the wiser for it. His new family has helped him see that, and he wishes that his son does not suffer the same fate. Overall, the story is extremely well paced with barely any dull moments. Even when there is a lull in some of the story beats, the interaction between the characters is incredibly engaging. One of the main characters you meet spits out Nordic myths during boat trips, practically making me stop my journey just for a bit to listen to the lore dumps, since the stories were so fascinating and I didn't want to risk skipping the dialogue. Atreus was kind of a roller coaster of a character, making me hate him in one moment because of his arrogance, to making me understand what he was going through. That is some damn good character development. Some of the best writing and storytelling are at work here, and it makes the game that much better. In previous God of War games, the gameplay was pretty straightforward, with Kratos practically mauling his opponents with ease. In this game, combat feels a bit more involved. The Leviathan Axe is Old Man Kratos' primary weapon of choice, and delivers powerful, albeit somewhat slow, strikes. Juggling enemies is possible, and can lead to some pretty nutty looking combos that involve launching an enemy, hitting them a couple of times while in the air, throwing your axe at the juggled enemy, and having Atreus shoot arrows keeping them airborne for a bit longer. That's right, your boy helps out in fights, stunning enemies, assisting in juggle combos, and sometimes finding health items. Kratos can also resort to good old-fashioned fisticuffs and give enemies a Spartan beatdown. When you are unarmed, you can stun enemies easier, which lead to the visceral finishes God of War is known for, quickly dispensing an enemy when in a pickle.
I think you got it.
Combat is extremely satisfying. It did take me a while to get used to the slower movements of Kratos, and I did have my fair share of deaths in some of the earlier moments of the game, but parrying enemies' attacks and using devastating runic attacks made combat so much damn fun. Combat tests your ability to skillfully avoid and counter enemy attacks. Button mashing will get you nowhere.
He did it.
Kratos is also fully customizable. Instead of just powering up your weapon to get new combos like in previous God of War games, Kratos and Atreus can get new armor sets and abilities. Getting better armor sets levels up Kratos and grants him certain bonus abilities for some attacks. You can upgrade your armor with enhancements to further boost your stats and go into battle the way you want. To be honest, I went into this game somewhat blind and only had little knowledge about the customization. It's safe to say I was kind of overwhelmed that this level of customization was present. There are abilities that give extra boosts in strength, defense, or even luck if you want to level up faster and get more money. Some enhancements give other crazy bonuses, like having some hits deliver a powerful explosion of frost at random, or even shooting fire waves for 10 seconds, making encounters much more hype with all the action on the screen. There is a healthy amount of options here that can make Kratos into a Draugr slaying machine. In terms of exploring the world, God of War is not a totally open world, but that doesn't take away from how fun it is to roam. While the areas are mostly focused on getting you from point A to point B, there are hidden areas with secret loot items and boss fights that can be accessed if you have certain equipment. There are even some side quests that can help in creating new armor sets to further level up Kratos. There are different collectibles and lore bits that can help with this as well. Puzzles are also intact with some simple but unique challenges when attempting to navigate Midgard. To be honest, my only gripe with the game is how somewhat toned down the feel of the game was in terms of some boss fights. Some fights are incredible, but they are a bit scattered throughout the story, while the ones that filled in those gaps were the usual troll bosses. I kinda wish there were more unique bosses instead of the usual standard troll to standard troll on fire that does more damage. Overall, the tone of the game is not as intense as previous games, however, but there are some incredible set pieces and gorgeous animations and environments. The music is also less loud and epic, and more tragic. These changes convey the idea that this is a different Kratos, one who does not seek battle and blood, but one who seeks to protect, and it's perfect. God of War deserves every praise it gets. The changes to the gameplay, story, and characters work extremely well and practically transform Kratos into a different character altogether. He's not just some Zeus shouting rage monster. He's a father now. Well, a father again. While previous games attempted to humanize Kratos a bit by making him have interactions with other characters that don't end up with him ripping their head off, this game makes it a mission to properly make him a character who has a family to protect, something that previous games were not able to explore. While there is not much of the over-the-top action in terms of boss fights that one might expect from God of War, what we got was a practically perfect retelling of an icon, one deserving of the status of godhood.